Hey guys, it's Tim, and we're back here with the PWUnlimited post show where you guys get to pick the topics, where we talk to you guys about stuff that may be wrestling related, may not be wrestling related, but it is a show for you guys who are member subscribers. It's our way to say thank you and give you guys some exclusive content that nobody else can get unless they are member subscribers. We do got some of you guys here in the live chat right now. We do have Kristen McNutt, Jason Dalton, Jonathan Powell. Let a couple more people jump in. So Kristen McNutt's got a cool little topic here. She says, what was everyone's favorite things while growing up? And I could talk on that a little bit. That's a cool topic to start off. We'll hit that. And then there was one or two other topics that got suggested that I wanted to talk about as well. And for that question that Kristen does ask, what was some of my favorite things growing up? Video games for sure. I loved video games. I started off with a regular Nintendo, went to the Super Nintendo, and then had a Game Boy. I've had every PlayStation, the Xboxes, almost all the Nintendos. Didn't have them all, almost all the Nintendos. And so that was one thing that I really liked growing up. Also, growing up, I lived in the mountains. And so it wasn't like there was a lot to do. But what we did do is we get all the kids, lived around each other together, and we'd ride our bikes. But we wouldn't just ride bikes. We'd take the scrap wood, we'd build ramps, we'd jump our bikes. So living in the mountains, on our street, there was like my house, and then the road went up the hill. So you can ride your bike to the top of the hill, come down, and when you hit that bottom, you're probably going 10, 15, sometimes, if you pedal fast enough, 20 miles an hour. So we'll be hitting them ramps, jumping. The funny thing is, a lot of you probably experience this. You're playing in the road, cars coming, everyone's got to run, get all the stuff out of the road. But the one thing that I liked to do is I like to film everything. And I guess that led into me wanting to get into graphic design, me wanting to get into film editing, video editing, and all that. And then it led me here to YouTube. So I guess I can say that I've liked doing, film stuff and video stuff since I was a kid. That was one thing that always caught my attention and that always just had me interested in wanting to learn more. Jason Dalton says I still have my Atari and about 30 games. Wow. That takes me back. I didn't play much Atari as a kid. Like I said, I started with the Nintendo, went to PlayStation, and really just stuck with PlayStation. Had a couple different Nintendos, but mainly PlayStation. But other things, growing up, of course, huge wrestling fan. And not too much more. Again, just, film stuff and being a stupid kid and all that kind of stuff. And just looking here at the chat, Chris McNutt says, I used to play on the Wii, old Xbox, PlayStation 2. Yeah, same here. Now, keeping with that question, I wanted to jump to another question that was submitted by, let me find it here. Trey 206. Trey 206 says, top 5 greatest cartoons growing up. So asking some of my favorite cartoons as a kid, I guess is what he's technically asking here. And let me just fix something here really quick. All right. So he's asking favorite cartoons. Easy. It's an easy one. Watched a lot of cartoons growing up, I could say. And when I was really little, I was a Nickelodeon kid for sure. Watched all the cartoons on Nickelodeon from the start. Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, Doug. But growing up, my favorite had to be Rugrats. Of course. The OGs. Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, Angelica. Then they added Dill, and they added Susie. Then, I was also a big fan of Batman the Animated Series. Whole other side of the spectrum as far as cartoons go. Always watched the WB cartoons on Saturday morning, the Fox Kids cartoons like Ultimate Muscle, wrestling cartoon. Kind of where Samoa Joe found the Muscle Buster, if you didn't know. He was watching Ultimate Muscle in Japan one time, said, hey, I could do a move like that. And that's where he found the Muscle Buster, while watching Ultimate Muscle. Other cartoons that I liked growing up, King of the Hill for sure, more of a quote-unquote adult cartoon. But I don't know if I can really rank top 5. I guess I would put King of the Hill as my number 1, since it's actually really one of my all-time favorite shows. Like, my favorite TV shows in general would be Boy Meets World, My Name is Earl, and King of the Hill. Those would be my favorite TV shows in general. So I guess I would put excuse me. So I guess I would put King of the Hill as my favorite. And then, let's see. I would go Rugrats, Doug. 2 more. Batman the Animated Series. Probably put that above Doug. I mean, Batman the Animated Series, that's just ahead of its time, to be honest. And, if I had to throw one more in there, maybe, and I'm talking Doug Nickelodeon, not Doug Disney. I'm not talking when Disney bought it. I'm talking when Nickelodeon had Doug. If I had to pick one more, I would probably... Jason Dalton says Simpsons. I like Simpsons. I never was like super into it or anything. I watched it a lot. Probably haven't watched much, if any, in the last like 3 or 4 years though. But if I had to throw one more, maybe Rocko's Modern Life? Maybe? Did I say Pokemon? Maybe Pokemon. Chris McNutt says, my Uncle Jim wrote Bob's Burger and King of the Hill. That's awesome. Like I said, King of the Hill, that's number 1 for me as far as cartoons go. Bob's Burgers, I was never really able to get into that one. Kristen also said Family Guy, SpongeBob. SpongeBob's okay. Never really got into that either. Family Guy, I never really liked Family Guy, to be honest. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I really never really liked it. So... just looking here, Jonathan Powell saying SpongeBob. But like, if I'm picking my top 5, like Pokemon, Simpsons would be right there, almost tied for 5th, because Simpsons was like ahead of its time. Then King of the Hill came in after it, well, way after it, but came in after it, both on Fox. So yeah, I think that would be my favorite in that. And another question was asked. Favorite dinner foods. This one was from Jonathan Powell. I think it's a tie between fried chicken and meatloaf. You can't have nothing better than a perfectly cooked meatloaf with a great ketchup sauce, mashed potatoes and gravy, and some corn. Mix it all together. There you go. Fried chicken. Who can go wrong with fried chicken, though? But as some may or may not have heard before, I used to be a cook in the Army. So I learned how to cook all that kind of stuff. Fried chicken, meatloaf, chicken fried steak, ribs on the barbecue, chicken on the barbecue. We used to do like barbecue days in the kitchens every Thursday. And so they'd have me manning the barbecue almost every week. But I think those would be my favorites as far as food goes. I know this would be a little more better if Nick was here with me, but again, family stuff with him since it is his dad's birthday. But just looking here, Chris McNutt says roast beef. Now, one more thing I wanted to talk about here on the post show. So last time, we talked about all the different Marvel movies coming out. Well, not only did we learn more about these Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows, we learned more about the Disney stuff coming out as well. Disney Plus is going to be a monster. Like just a huge monster of a streaming service is going to be $6.99. Technically, it's a $4.99, $4 if you buy the Founders Edition kind of deal, where if you get in now and spend $140, you're locked in for 3 years, paid all up front, and even if they ever raise the price, boom, you're still in on that initial price. That's great. And they announced a lot of stuff, but the one thing probably that I'm really looking forward to is The Mandalorian and whatever this Obi-Wan Kenobi show is going to be. Mandalorian looks like it's going to be phenomenal. It's done by Jon Favreau. I think he directed some of it. He has another co-director. I know he's producing a lot of it or all of it. But I think Mandalorian is going to be a really, really cool show on there. I also think whatever this Kenobi show is going to be, they said the script's all written. They're going to start filming early next year. We did learn of some other things. I mean, they got a lot of different movies coming out for it. They've got the Christmas movie with Noel. They've got, let me see if I can think off the top of my head, all the Marvel shows. WandaVision is going to be one of the ones that directly ties into the movies the most, I think. It's going to go, WandaVision is going to, get their 6 episodes, and it's going to tie directly into the next Doctor Strange movie. I'm not exactly sure how much of a lead-in to anything that the Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be. And I think Falcon may only put on a Captain America suit once in that show. It's really going to be about, from what I've heard, about him, building up to becoming the next Captain America. Yeah, Cap gave him, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, Cap gave him the shield at the end of Endgame. And so he's going to take up that next mantle. Christopher McNutt, yep, that's another one. That broke the internet when they announced a new Lizzie McGuire show. That broke the internet. Everybody went nuts when that got leaked out and then when it got announced. And so that should be a very interesting one to see as well. But my question is, how many people here are subscribed to Netflix? How many are interested in Disney Plus? And the big question is, are you going to get both? Or are you going to dump Netflix and go Disney Plus? Or are you saying, no, I like all the stuff on Netflix because it's so diverse. I'm going to stick with just Netflix. That's the big question. That's the big debate going around right now. What do you pick? You've got Disney Plus. You've got Netflix. You also got Hulu out there too. Or Hulu, if you want, you can bundle that in with your Disney Plus. You spend $12.99 a month, I think it is. You get Hulu with ads, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. There's not too much for me, at least, that entices me to need ESPN Plus. Especially all the UFC pay-per-views on ESPN Plus. But it's not like you get ESPN Plus and you get the UFC pay-per-view. You still got to spend the however much it is, $50 a month or whatever, on the UFC show. So that's still outrageous. But it should be an interesting time. It does launch on the 12th, I want to say, of November. And then everything will trickle out. They said over the first year, all Disney movies should be on there. At least all the major Disney Vault movies, all the Marvel movies, all the Pixar movies, all the Star Wars movies, and everything new going forward. Jason Dalton said, I got rid of Netflix and Hulu. Are you going to pick up Disney Plus? I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try it for a month when it first comes out, or a couple of months, because some things are going to trickle out. I think Avengers Endgame will be on there 1 month after launch. They're adding Captain Marvel. I don't know if that's at launch or not. Might be. And then, I would assume after the 6-month mark or so, you'll be getting Rise of the Skywalker whenever that comes out, because, that's going to be in theaters for 5-6 months. And then that'll go to Disney Plus, exclusive there. That's the other thing. All of these Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars movies, you're not going to be able to stream them anywhere else. It's just going to be on Disney Plus. Jonathan Powell says, aren't you tired? Not really. It's only 9:55 here. Remember, I live on the West Coast, so it's not as late as some of you that may be on the East Coast. But Chris McNutt says, I will try Disney Plus. Oh, I'm trying it day one for sure. Just for all the back catalog stuff, they announced Goofy movie will be on Disney Plus. That's right there enough for my $6.99. Plus, you're getting all the Boy Meets World, another, like I said, my favorite show of all time. That's all going to be on there. so many more. Unfortunately, the one thing, the drawback that some people don't realize, though, not all those old ABC TGIF shows are going to be able to be on Disney Plus. Because a lot of them, like Step by Step, Full House, Family Matters, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, those were all developed by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns the rights to all those. So they're starting their own service, HBO Max. So I think all those shows may end up going over there. So those are going to be ABC, technically ABC shows. It won't be able to go on the Disney Plus service. But with that, I think that's going to wrap up this week's post show. Got through, I think, all of the questions you guys did submit. Just looking here. Jonathan Powell was asking about WWE 2K20. I honestly don't think I'm going to pick it up. At least not when it first comes out. I'm really not that enticed by WWE 2K20 this year. And if I look back at 2K19, I played it for like the first 2 or 3 months it came out. Did a couple videos on the channel. Not many people were really interested. And that's why I really didn't go back to it. And if people aren't interested in the video game stuff, I'd rather help out and promote others that do more than me with the video game stuff, that do the video game stuff better than me, and that can devote more, like Macho T and Chris Denker. So I would rather help promote them and their video game content when, in the long run, I'm not going to get the $60 game and really not make much back on it here with the content we would put out. So that's just a little bit of what I'm thinking right now. So I don't think that I'm going to pick up 2K20, at least not at launch. One final thing from Krista McNutt. She said, what match are you looking forward the most at All Out? I think Jason and I talked about this on the regular Wednesday show podcast earlier. I think I'm most looking forward to now the main event, Jericho versus Hangman. I was most looking forward to Moxley and Omega, but now that Moxley's out, I'm going Hangman and Jericho. But I want to say thank you guys for joining me here on the post show. We will be doing another one of these soon, maybe even next week. Hopefully we can get Nick in on one of these. Nick's actually excited to do one of these because he can talk about anything he wants. The little premise here is just talk about anything. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great night. Get some sleep.